Okay, so this is part of the credit repair series, and this is part where you get a collection letter, something has gone to collections and you've gotten a letter, and how to deal with it, how to mark up your letter, and steps for taking care of that. So these are the codes that I'm going to be using. It's Title 15 US 1692, and most of them is the first ones here. Okay, so in there you can find these online at Cornell Law School if you need to look them up. So this is an example of a collection letter, and you can just take a pen and circle these if you have these same type of violations. As you can see, this one is related. 1692 B2 is a violation because a lot of these companies, they have to be licensed in your state and in their state, and a lot of them aren't. So that's the violation. Were they in the right? Are they in the state? Did you collect this debt, or did you get this debt in that state? If you didn't get the debt in that state, then that's a violation. Okay, so they can't be from another state. Yeah, so this one is, so there's different ones here. One of them is about the initial communication. So let me go through it real quick so you get a better understanding. Okay, things to do. 1, send out a debt validation letter. Ask the questions: who sold you this debt? Do we have a contract? Can you produce an original contract with 2 wet signatures? So your debt validation letter should have those types of questions in them. I might later have a sample debt validation letter out there that I might put up, but you can also search online to see if there's any example ones if you want to use them. Try to find ones like that have those types of questions in them, and then just adjust them. Did they, after you send them the letter, did they answer those questions? If they didn't answer the questions, then they're in violation. Sometimes they just send you back the same thing. That's not answering the questions. That's not validating the debt. Also, you can also send them an affidavit of truth, if you know about debt validation, and the laws, and see if they can rebut it. The debt validation, if you've ever gotten Meet Your Straw Man, I think it's on page 13. It has it there. You could probably, it's $5, that book, on Amazon, and you might be able to find a free download somewhere online. That one has like a sample kind of what kind of questions you ask when you validate the debt. Okay, sorry it wasn't moving. So number 2, mark up the collection letters with the violations. So this one was for acquiring a location. Do you owe debt in Willington, Delaware? Do you live there, or have you lived in Delaware? No? Well, no to the violation, no to the location. So that's a violation. So acquisition of a location information, not state that such customer owes any debt. So it's not the state, not the state. If you click on here, it's not what you mean, not stating, it means the state, like the location. So if that's not the state that you acquired the debt, that's a violation for them sending you that. So 15 U.S. Code 1692, communication in connection with debt collection. So here, this one, communicating with the customer generally without prior consent. So if you didn't give them consent, then to the prior to sending you this letter or putting something on the credit? Did they call you and say, hey, do you mind if I send you this letter? Do I mind if you put, they didn't give you prior consent? Did they give you permission to communicate? No, then that's a violation pursuant to 15 Code 1692C. Okay, this one, harassment or abusive, the use of obscene or profane language, the natural consequence of which is to abuse the hearer or reader. So that one is, your account may be credit reported, so that would be, stressful to someone. So that might be like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that they said that to me. That's kind of like harassing me, So you can circle that, put the violation there. So that's what most of these are. This is the prior consent, the way they're talking to you. So I did put that on each one here. The location, I showed you that one. The prior consent, the harassing talking. 15 U.S. Code 1692 GA, validation of debts. Did they contact you? Did they give you a notice of debt in the initial communication, either on your credit report or calling you? Did they let you know that they were going to do that? If they did, then you circle it, it's a violation. Okay, and then here's where you can collect the damages. They did all those violations, so you can collect up to $1,000 for each violation. Pursuant to this, the amount of damages, they could have called you stress and mental anguish. They violated you. Did they damage your credit? You couldn't get credit. They violated you and caused you damages. That's another thing they could have. It's like, now you ruined my credit. And you caused me stress, and you caused me mental anguish. So at this point, once you send it back with your letter, your affidavit, or your validation, probably you should do the validation first, but you can do it in whatever order you want. They also recommend affidavit of truth, because on an affidavit, every line needs to be rebutted, so make sure you use all the laws when you're writing it. And if they can't rebut it, if they like, why are you sending me from another state? Why does it say that? I didn't do business in that state. I don't have a debt in that state. Do you have a license to collect in that state? According to this law? So they have to rebut it. They did send it from a different state, so how are they going to rebut that? They did use threatening words, so how are they going to rebut that? Okay, so then you can do that. Then if they don't rebut it, you can send them another letter, opportunity to cure. And if they don't do anything, then they don't fix it, right? Then after, you can give it like 10 days for each one if you want it to go fast. Then after that, notice of default. And then at this point, you keep copies of all of this. Then you can upload all that to the CFPB, or you can litigate if you want, which means like going to court. But hopefully they'll either remove it by then, or they'll either stop communicating you and you won't get any more, and you won't see it on there. In your letters, you got to make sure you tell them, I don't want to see any of this on my credit report, or you're going to be reported to the CFPB. You kind of got to be nice, but not too nice. And then send it certified mail, return receipt. As far as templates, I don't have any, but I might have some. But anyway, that's kind of what you can at least mark up your letter. You can at least write a letter, even if you don't. You can at least mark up the letter. You should write at least a small cover letter saying what you want, like what you're demanding. Like, I want you already violated me, I showed you on the invoice, and I really want you to remove this from my credit. I don't want to see it on my credit report. You have no right to do that. You know, you didn't notify me, you violated me so many times. And because of that, each violation, I'm seeking damages. So this is your invoice that you can send them with your marked up letter, and then you can just do a short letter if you want. But if you do the other things, then you might have a better chance. But you can also just do this and it might work too. It's really up to you how much you want to do. So you can send them this invoice and see, what happens there. You put the date, whatever date you send it, however soon you want it from you, and you're going to bill it to them. Now, this is the violations I kind of just made a generic. Attempting to collect on a debt in a location where I do not reside pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1692b, it's $1,000. Failure to give prior consent for attempting to communicate pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1692c, $1,000. Number 3, failure to provide notice of consent on initial communication pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1692k, $1,000. The use of language meant to harass, such as your account may be credit reported. 15, I didn't put pursuant there, but you can or not. 15 U.S.C. Code 1692 D2. And you got to make sure I put the right things here. Make sure I didn't have a typo. $1,000. And then 5, all this caused me mental anguish and stress, so I'm seeking damages pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1692K, $1,000. Then the total is $5,000 of violations. And I put here terms and conditions, payment due in 30 days, make check payable. You can always change this. I think the lowest you can put is like 10. But usually it's net 30, but I wouldn't put any lower than 10 because then it's being a little bit unreasonable. But yeah, so that could be it. So those are all the things that you can do. And, then you can go here after you've done that, because in order to report that to the CFPB and get success, it's good to have, you go to CFPB here. It's good to have like stuff to upload that you've sent this, you did that, you told them the violations. Hopefully maybe you don't have to do it. Maybe they stop communicating with you, maybe they don't report it, maybe nothing happens. But if you do get here, maybe they don't pay you and you still want payment, or they still didn't remove it, so then you got to go file a complaint. You can also file one with the Better Business Bureau if you want. But here you can file the complaint, upload everything, even the invoice, and see if you can try to get the damages. Anything with law, it's like you have to state your case, and then you'll see if you win them or you don't, depending on how good you are at convincing, how persuasive you are. But at least they'll make them remove the stuff, because they did do a whole bunch of violations. So in your letter you should also say, please remove this, I don't want to see this on here. Yeah, so that's one way to do it, and hope you enjoy. Bye.